Hello and good day, Mike Adcock with an update on Tropical Cyclone Alessia off the North Kimberly Coast. This brief is based on the Zero Zulu Bureau of Meteorology advisory from the 24th of November. Take a look at Alessia here on satellite loop. You can see very small system starting to move away from the North Kimberly Coast. Expecting this to be a weak tropical low, weak tropical cyclone as it makes landfall early on Monday morning there between Darwin and Port Keats. Really looking at some gusty winds up to 95 kilometers per hour at landfall, and then some rain showers with this one. To be honest with you, a lot of the rainfall is going to be confined to the coastal areas. Shouldn't really see a significant amount. That being said, over the top end you could see some isolated heavy showers that can contribute to some localized flooding. Taking a look at the Zero Zulu advisory, this is 8 a.m. Western Australia time. The center of Alessia was 115 kilometers northeast of Colombo, or 395 kilometers west-southwest of Darwin. It is moving off to the east, rather, at 17 km per hour, wind 65, gusting to 95 kilometers per hour, and the pressure 998 hectopascal. Looking at the Dvorak analysis, you see a very weak storm. Bureau of Meteorology really on the high end here, going with a T2.5, and that's based on the model. They had a lot of difficulty trying to get a data T out of this system. Nesdis opted to go with a 1.0 based off of a 2/10 wrap on the convection log 10 wrap, and then JTWC just called the center of circulation overland and opted not to do anything at all. The advanced Dvorak technique, rather on the bullish side, current intensity 3.6, final T of 3.0, that would yield you about 57 knots. Bottom line is what we got. Actually, both agencies, the Bureau of Meteorology and Joint Typhoon Warning Center, pretty much on point. Bureau of Meteorology went with 35 knots, gusting up toward 50, I believe. JTWC, essentially the same thing. The only difference there, about 5 knots off, and that's contributed to the difference between the 10-minute average and the 1-minute average. Looking at the surface analysis, you do see the Alessia there off to the north, continuing to move generally eastward, going to round the northern periphery of this strong area of high pressure off to the south. That's extending upward. Looking for this area of high pressure off toward New Zealand to start building in toward east central Australia. That's going to help turn Alessia off toward the south later in the forecast period, and you can see that here on the official Bureau of Meteorology forecast track, making landfall there south of Darwin, and then by the time we get into the early part of next week, starting to turn this system off toward the south. Right now there is a blue alert out. People in or near the communities of Colombo and the border, excluding Kununurra, need to prepare for the cyclonic weather and organize an emergency kit. The territory controller advises residents from the border to Port Stewart that now is the time to make your final preparations to your home shelter or identify which public shelter you will use. Residents of Darwin and rural areas are advised that that now is the time to make your final preparations to your home shelter, and private sector businesses and organizations that are still open are strongly advised to consider securing and closing their premises. Current intensity right now, this is a Category 1 on the Australian scale, the equivalent to a weak tropical storm on the American Saffir-Simpson scale. Really should see little change in strength over the next 24 hours prior to landfall. Afterwards, should see weakening. JTWC, again, very similar track. Right now, 75 kilometers per hour sustained, gusting up to 95. And again, accounting for the 10-minute to 1-minute average adjustment there, pretty much the same as Australia. Looking at the surface analysis, not a whole lot to talk about here. Pretty high pressure. You do see the circulation evident here off the Kimberly Coast. Right now, the lowest pressure is really well off to the west, 1006.9. indicated in the surface observations. Taking a look at Port Keats. Light winds there out of the north at 9 kilometers. Pressure again pretty high, 1007.2. And your current temperature there this morning, 26.6 Celsius. You can get this and other analysis over at westernpacificweather.com. You can also follow along on the Twitter and Facebook pages and join in on the conversation at storm2k.org. Thank you all for tuning in. Be safe out there. Have a great day and take care.